Welcome back to Ignition Point Podcast. On this episode, we're joined by Enzer to talk about PGI's new competition, Battle in the Sky. So Aaron, Thank you for joining us on the podcast. For anyone that may be unfamiliar with who you are, could you give us a quick 2-minute, this is me and this is what I do?
My name's Enzer. I'm the owner and president of Ace Pyro. I've been involved with the PGI since 1996 when I attended my first convention in Muskegon, Michigan. And I have not missed a convention since. This actually will be, I believe, my 30th year of attending. And with the COVID year, I think this actually ends up being my 30th convention this year.
Wow.
In a row.
That's nice. And you're only 39 years old. That's impressive.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Actually, both of my children were old snorts by the time they turned like either 11 or 12. So
that's awesome.
PGI's been a big part of my life.
That's amazing. So you're officially the most convention attended guest we've had.
Well,
Does he get an award for that? I think we should give him an award.
Aaron, did you ever serve on the board or anything at PGI?
I did serve on the board. I was president, started in 2010, and was president for 2 years.
How about that?
Yep. And then I also, prior to that, I was communications chair. So my responsibilities included the announcing for the PGI live events, as well as helping to coordinate a lot of the evening activities, the displays. And then that led to the production chairman position that I had recommended, because just as production became more and more complex, needed to just have somebody really full-time address doing production-related activities and make sure to coordinate the displays, because prior to that, you'd have 3 different display companies and 3 different people had all promised them they could be the first display of the night. And obviously, that created some challenges. So having one person kind of coordinate everything has really helped to improve the production over the years.
I had heard that when you had owned your own plane, you were going to run for president again. Are you going to run for president again?
I won't say that I will never run for president again, but certainly not any time in the near future. Just so busy with many different aspects of life, and I serve in many different roles. I certainly would consider being on the board again and look forward to that opportunity someday, maybe in the future, when a few other things are not requiring quite as much of my time.
Does that mean you have a plane?
No.
Oh, what did you say, Peaches?
I did say a plane.
He has 2 planes.
Oh, okay. There you go. 2.
Aaron, the pyro pilot.
Yep. Actually, outside of pyro, my full-time occupation until about 10 years ago was as an airline pilot. I flew all over the world. The last 5 years, I was a captain on a 747-400. It was cargo related, so I flew all over the place, but a lot of it was military cargo. So I've probably have over 100 flights in and out of Afghanistan supporting our troops when they were there. And
cool is that?
And supporting a lot of other, military operations around the world, including training events. And so I got to see a lot of neat places that, definitely are harder to get to normally as a civilian.
We'll have to talk later, Aaron. My stepdad is a captain on the 777 for FedEx, and I mean he's close to retirement at this point, but he started military. He's got a lot of stories, as I'm sure you do.
Oh yeah, lots and lots of stories. And working for a small airline, a lot of times we were out there in the world, barely supported by our dispatch. So it was quite the adventure, to say the least. Getting to airspace and then having the people that you're talking to, air traffic control, say, no, we don't have any of your paperwork or permits. You got to turn around and go back, and various other fun adventures. So it definitely was a lot less routine than flying for a typical scheduled passenger airline. Mm-hmm. But it also was a lot more interesting because every month I would go to a new airport that I had never been to before. And a lot of times every month I would go to a new country I hadn't been to before. Wow. I've been to over 100 countries around the world, and it really gave me an opportunity to realize how blessed we are here in America and how privileged we are here in America as compared to what a lot of other people face on a day-to-day life. So it really gives you an incredible perspective to be appreciative of everything you have here.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
You've been in Pyro for how long approximately? even before PGI?
Well, I mean, I loved fireworks as a young kid, but when I really got more involved in the commercial aspect, actually it was in 1996, I was invited to do a 4th of July fireworks display. And that was kind of my introduction to commercial fireworks. I mean, prior to that, I would go out and buy consumer fireworks and enjoy them and shoot them, but never really considered it to either be an occupation or a career, or really even knew how to get involved in fireworks beyond just going and buying what you could buy at retail and enjoying them, personally. Over the years, I was a founding president of the Michigan Pyrotechnics Arts Guild. I was president of that for 10 years. I have joined the Florida Pyro Arts Guild, Western Pyro Association, a member of Wisconsin Club, years ago, the Pyrotechnic Artists in Pennsylvania, and just tried to support a lot of clubs. Some clubs I've joined and I've attended 1 or 2 events ever, but, I typically will still send my dues in just as a show of support to, the various clubs around the country. And then more recently, I've taken a more active role with the National Fireworks Association. I'm the chairman of the Government Affairs Committee, and on that committee, we're basically kind of a watchdog group and think tank as different issues face the fireworks industry. We kind of talk about what is the best strategy and how can we help to preserve the fireworks that we all love, and how do we try to negotiate with regulators on behalf of a large portion of the industry to make sure that the regulations and other rules don't prevent us from being able to do what we love doing.
Yeah, you have quite the impressive pyro resume.
Yeah.
And thank you for everything you've done within the industry for all the different clubs and events. And that's what really brings us to the main topic of today's conversation, which is the PGI and the new competition going on for the first time this year, currently named Battle in the Sky.
Yes, it's named Battle in the Sky. It is a new competition, and this competition kind of stems from some of the other competitions you've seen around the world, and more recently in the United States. This competition requires the participants to apply to actually produce their show at the PGI. So they will get a Finale 3D license. They do have to pay an entrance fee in order to be able to get a copy of Finale 3D to be able to produce their show. They produce a show that's 5 minutes in length, but the way that we're having them produce the show is we're providing them everything they need. The fireworks will be available to them, the equipment will be available to them, the firing system will be available to them, because many of the people that are very talented at designing shows simply don't have the logistical resources to be able to produce a show they want to design. And if you do have all the logistics resources to be able to shoot a show at the PGI, you're probably a display company, and you may not be that interested or less interested in really trying to compete at the PGI. So the very basics are, we're going to have people design their shows. They're going to go to acepyro.com to select the product that they would like. They get a $4,000 budget that they get to spend any way they want on acepyro.com. That provides them with the fireworks. All of the equipment, such as mortars, firing system, everything like that to produce their show will be available to them and delivered to the PGI. And we're going to take the best entrants and offer the 3 most impressive shows based on a panel of judges reviewing all the simulations of the shows, the opportunity to come to the PGI and actually produce the show that they have created. So they're going to have to come up with their team to be able to do it. We'll make sure that each team will have one representative from Ace Pyro just to kind of help support them. So if they have any questions about equipment or, even some of the best practices or, how to set things up, they'll have an advisor that's basically there. But they'll set up their show and present it in front of the PGI on Wednesday night at this upcoming convention. All 3 shows will be the same night. If it rains out on Wednesday, they'll be pushed back to Thursday. But it should be a really enjoyable competition, because it's not about who has the deepest pocketbook. Everybody spends the same money. Everybody's at 5 minutes. Everybody has the same pool of equipment available to them. So it's really going to make the playing field very even, and it really comes down to who's able to create the show that is both artistically the nicest show, but also having the ability to be able to set that show up. So it's not just about the artistry. It's also about, are you able to get the show set up and be able to get your team to set it up correctly? There'll be technical judging based on, did you misload stuff, or a lot of shells left over at the end of the show because things weren't done neatly. So it's not just judging the artistry, but it's also about the performance of the actual production.
I think I'm going to enter.
There's a lot of people that have said they're really, really interested in entering, including some of the people that help as staff members at some of the other competitions. They've said, oh yeah, we're very interested in participating.
I definitely considered it when I heard about it. So how much is the fee to get the license for finale?
It's going to be $50. So it's meant to be a very small entrant fee, and that entrance fee actually is going to be used as the prize money for the winners of the display.
Nice.
So that money does not go to finale. It does not go to the PGI. It does not go to Ace Pyro. It actually goes to the competition winners.
Which means more entrants, the more the winnings, basically?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. It means the more people that enter, the tougher the competition, and therefore the person that wins over a larger pool of people that are competing, the prize money is going to be more.
I would like to make a pact with the team right here, Skylar, Peaches, and Adam. We all individually enter. Obviously, only one of us is going to shoot, maybe all three, but probably one.
But then we
can all be on this. Yes, there you go.
Nice.
Yes.
Put it on the calendar.
Game
Speaking
on.
of calendars, do we know the dates of the competition yet?
It's going to be Wednesday night on the PGI, so I believe the date is August 12th is the Wednesday.
What about for entering the competition? Do we know that, or is that still being finalized?
We're targeting April 1st as a start date to be able to officially announce it publicly. We're only going to have a fairly short window for the show design. We're probably going to try to give between 2 to 3 weeks, but we're kind of leaning more towards 2 weeks. And part of that is the logistics of the person that designs the show is going to have to select product at acepyro.com. If they're one of the winning shows, we're going to reserve that product and hold it. And obviously, if we get, pretty much beyond middle of April into May, a lot of product is moving very, very rapidly through our inventory. And we don't want somebody that designs a show to, by the time we actually reserve the product because they're in the top few shows, to have everything that they've selected that was available when they designed their show no longer available. So in fairness to the show designers, we want to make sure that we have a shorter window so that they're able to have most of the product available. We know we're going to probably get quite a few entrants, so we don't want to hold 100% of all the product for every show. It just wouldn't make sense for us to do that.
Right.
But we also don't want a show designer to have to go back and, product through their entire show. So we kind of want to try to minimize that as much as possible. In future years, we will likely try to design the shows a little bit earlier in the year, simply so that there's less product being purchased every day.
Usually the first year is the hardest to implement. Once you get the cadence, you understand the structure, you work out the kinks, year 2, year 3, you're up and running and there's no issues.
Oh yeah, and we realize that too. I mean, we are talking to a lot of other people that have run competitions. We've had a lot of support from them. Some of the good parts, some of the parts that kind of were unexpected challenges. I'm sure we'll run into a few hiccups, but in the end of the day, I'm looking forward to seeing some really fantastic displays by people that oftentimes don't get the ability to produce their own shows because they just don't have the logistics or, the money to do so. So it's a pretty awesome opportunity for people that want to go out and design their shows any way they want. Very few artistic restrictions at all. The only one is really kind of a time limit, and that's just so that, we have a short but intense show. The logistics of setting it up isn't too big. We didn't want to have a show that was so giant that, people wouldn't have a reasonable chance of getting it set up. And we also, having 3 shows in the same night, that's kind of why we kind of dialed in at that 5-minute mark, because, that's going to be 15 minutes of shows that should be pretty intense, as well as, the other typical lineup of a Wednesday night, which would include JPA, include unlimited Class C is oftentimes on Wednesday night. And it is going to be a night where we're going to have the public on site as well. So we wanted to be able to provide kind of a full evening of entertainment for the general public to come and join us again, a third night at the PGI.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I'm going to go out and say that Wednesday is going to be one of the better nights. And I say that because this competition, you're going to have a lot of people enter, and you know that there's going to be some really high caliber shows, very tightly choreographed, plus Unlimited Sea, which does the same stuff. And then you also add in a ton of fireworks from JPA. It's always a crowd favorite. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be pretty intense. Also, if you want to watch shows but you're not a member, you can get tickets at pgi.org/tickets.
It's a great point, Joel. Glad you brought that up. Yeah, this is pretty invigorating for Wednesday night, right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to create a huge event for a Wednesday evening. I mean, Wednesday night is typically pretty full already.
Yep.
And that was another reason we wanted to make the shows shorter. Because by the time we have all the typical Wednesday evening activities going on, adding 15 more minutes of shows, and of course it's never 15 minutes because there's always the 5 minutes to wait for the smoke to clear or get the next show ready to go, or just whatever the circumstance are. There's always that time between the different productions that add to the total timeline each evening.
Yeah, I love the format. I love what you said about how it kind of evens the playing field for maybe competitors who wouldn't normally get the chance to put something together like this. It really opens up a new avenue for a lot of people that have maybe sat back and watched and dreamed, and here's their chance. So that's very cool.
Yeah, and the reality too is that, it's not a matter of who has the biggest checkbook or who can afford to do it, because the reality is that the cost to the participants is going to be pretty minimal. You still have to attend the convention. You still have to be a member. You don't have to be a member to enter the competition, but if you're selected to actually produce your show, you'll need to meet all the normal PGI attendance rules. They will allow, if you have additional crew members that are there solely for the purpose of setting up your display, the additional people wouldn't necessarily have to be a member. They do have provisions for display crew on a limited basis to come just for the purposes of setting up their display. But they're not able to really participate in the rest of the convention. But obviously there's the travel expenses and things like that of just being there. But beyond that, you're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars over in the Class C tent trying to produce your unlimited Class C display. The products are being provided, the equipment's being provided, the transportation and trucking's being provided, because there's a big contingent of people that would love to design some fantastic shows, and they just don't have the resources to do it. So we're really looking forward to opening this opportunity up to a lot of people that just haven't had that opportunity before.
Yeah, what a great idea. And like you said, it's an opportunity, but I also think you're going to generate a lot of future interest in folks that got a taste of it. They may not have won. They may not have made it to the finals, so to speak, but hey, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Maybe I can do this on my own. I think we're creating a whole new generation of pyrotechnic artists with this. I love it.
Oh yeah, and that's part of it as well. The introduction to being able to do displays to a bunch of people, particularly trying to get younger people that might be super enthusiastic, but again, financially they can't afford to do it. They can't afford to buy the firing systems and the equipment and pay for a truck to get there. Well, it's all being provided. So, if you're really on a budget, you basically come attend the convention, which a lot of people attend the convention already. So if you're already attending the convention, really there's no additional cost other than the time you spend designing your show and the time you spend setting it up during the convention week.
Is there a limited number of firing positions or anything like that?
There's not. It's basically a limitation of the time for your music track and your budget. I think there's some incredible competitions out there. One, namely, that I've been kind of involved in as a sponsor with the firing system is Pyro Jam. And I love what the crew does at Pyro Jam. I mean, it's incredible displays. A lot of the initial design part of it is similar to what we're doing, and it's kind of what we're modeling it on. But the shows themselves kind of have a similar flavor and a similar feel because the field design and the field layout is defined ahead of time so that it makes it more realistic and easier for the crew that's going to set up the show, which is actually set up by the sponsor, not the individual competitors. So you get a wonderful show, but they all have somewhat of a similar kind of look and feel. Well, this doesn't have that limitation. You can set up the equipment anywhere you want under obviously the safety guidelines. I mean, you can't set equipment up closer than it's supposed to be, but you can set the equipment up anywhere you want to set it up. And so you can design a show that's really, really wide. If you want it really wide, you can design it really deep if you want to have big shells way out back and smaller stuff way up front. It's totally up to the show designer to create the field layout any way they want to create it.
Are there any prerequisites as like needing to have done some sort of show setup? Or, I mean, you can be fresh
no,
in the
there's
pyro.
Really you can be fresh into pyro, and that's part of the reason we also have somebody there to help guide you through this process from a logistics aspect. If somebody decides they want to enter the competition, there's going to be an entrance process that'll be hosted by finale3d.com. You'll enter the competition there. That's where you'll pay your $50 entrant fee, and you'll have access to a license for Finale 3D that'll be available during the 2 to 3 week design period. You'll design your show. You'll provide your show back to Finale 3D. So it'll be, the music track, the fireworks. You'll also include the order that you submitted on acepyro.com for the fireworks it takes to support your fireworks display. And that's how you enter. Once they have been entered, we're going to look through the shows, and we're going to pick the 3 shows that we think are the shows that are going to perform the best at the PGI, and we're going to invite those people to produce them. If they're not able to, if somebody says, hey, I entered, but just life happens and I'm not able to make it, we're going to select the next person that's ranked in order. And so there's a chance that there could be a show that was selected, however, just they don't think logistically they're going to do it. We're going to be there to support them and help them, but still, part of this competition, they need to get their team. They need to make sure they have the ability to have the labor necessary to set up and design the show. So that's going to be a consideration that's a little bit different than some of the other competitions where you simply submit your entry to the host and the host sets it up for you. Well, this one, you're going to have to set it up. We're going to provide, again, all the support you need, but you're still going to have to be the one that puts the racks together, puts the fireworks in the tubes, sets up any other fixtures on any proximate stuff that you want or whatever. And you're going to even have to make sure that you order what you need. If you're selected, there's going to be an order sheet that says, I need to order 53-inch racks and 25 4-inch racks, and I need some 8-inch mortars, or whatever the equipment needs are. There's going to basically be a list where you have to order the equipment that you need. So it's both the artistic design, but it's also about the logistics management to make sure that you ask for what you need and you get it, and you are able to get the show set up in a timely basis. You'll get the whole convention. The truck's going to be there realistically on Friday before the convention sets up. So you'll get your product. You'll have to label your product and get it ready so you know where it goes in the field. You'll have to set the racks, but you'll have several days to do all that on-site planning and prep work. If you're mounting smaller proximate type items, you'll have plenty of time to be able to do that as well. And then when it comes showtime, we'll be there to support you shooting the show, and you can either shoot the show directly yourself, or at that point, if you want one of the Ace Pyro crew members to actually run the firing panel so you can sit there and enjoy the show, that's an option too.
Nice.
Because at that point, we're basically hitting the play button on your show, and if you do that or we do that, it still is 100% your effort, your work to produce that show. And at that point, we just get to see the results.
I also think whoever wins the competition and or maybe the 3 that compete, we should invite onto the podcast to talk about their process. I didn't think a lot about the logistical side of it. In my head, I was thinking, oh yeah, if you enter, you win, you don't have a crew, you could probably get a crew pretty easily by posting on some of the groups, the forum, hey, I need X amount of people to help me, but at the same time, you have to be in charge of ensuring that you're successful and have the right people around you to be successful. So that's awesome. I really enjoy that.
Right. And some people have a tight-knit group they already shoot with. Maybe they shoot for a display company. Maybe they are active members in regional clubs. But there may be other people that enter that, don't yet have that group of friends around them. And you're right. You might have to reach out. But even when you reach out, you're really going to have to make sure that, the team that you select is able to do everything necessary to present your show and present it well. Obviously, we have a huge pyro community, so I'm sure if somebody designed a show and they needed some additional help, people would be more than happy to help them and become part of their team, but they're still going to have the answers when somebody says, where do you want me to put these 3-inch racks? They're going to have a site map and a plan, and how do you set it up? Because quite honestly, the artistic design of setting up a show is only half of what it takes, if even that. I mean, the other half is the logistics of actually turning an artistic idea into the actual mechanics of having the show set up in the field and ready to shoot.
That's my day job. I take some artist design and make it happen.
Yep.
So did you talk about the budget at all, or is that something that you can speak to?
The budget itself is you get to spend $4,000 on acepyro.com for your product, and everything else that you need is paid for as part of our overall production budget. The only part of the budget the people that are entering need to worry about is the $50 to enter the competition, and that when they go and they place their order at acepyro.com, it doesn't exceed $4,000. Beyond that, they simply design within those constraints, and the product's going to show up on site.
You have $13.33 per second to spend. Did the math.
Yeah, that's good to know. But that's just product, right? It's not racks, it's not equipment, it's not e-match.
Yeah, there's no cost associated with that. The e-match themselves is part of your product budget. That becomes a question. Do you want like an incredibly large number of cues that would be a lot of single shot type items, or do you want less cues with bigger shells? So where do you want to spend your budget? So certainly you're going to need e-matches to shoot your show, because, I mean, realistically, you're not going to do a pyro musical without e-matches, but everything else would be provided. All the racks are provided. There's no cost in that. All the firing system is provided. We'll be shooting it with Starfire. So we have literally, you could design as many cues as you could afford. Obviously, you would run out of budget far before we run out of firing system to shoot it. So everything else financially is provided.
And if I want Aaron to fly over in his Cessna and drop waterfall effects, is that included in the equipment budget?
Yeah, I don't think the airplane flyover is on the equipment request form.
Okay. What about drones?
Yeah, well,
wait a second. Actually, though, speaking of product outside of Ace Pyro, what if you had brought any product that was handmade?
Yeah, we're limiting it to product that's available at acepyro.com. And the main reason is because we want to keep the playing field very fair. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got some incredible shell builders and incredible people that can make just some amazing product. There's an entire competition within the PGI for those types of products that are already available. This is really intended for a test of somebody's ability to design and then set up a 1.3G fireworks display.
Yeah, I love the concept.
There's no restrictions on what you choose. So I'm just thinking through this logistically. If someone is trying to be super creative and not use shells and want to do like an a cappella type show, they can do whatever the heck they want. They might not win, right? But it's whatever.
Yeah, they can do anything they want. The only real limitation on product is that they're going to have to pick among about the 30,000 cases of product that we have on hand. So hopefully they can find something that they like. Originally, we were talking about trying to get a product sponsor, and as we started looking at it, we kind of decided we really didn't want to limit product to one brand. And so we decided, let's just open it up to everything. Nice. And I think with the connections that I have, I certainly could get some suppliers that would be interested in supporting it. But then again, they would kind of want their product to either be exclusively or predominantly used in the show. Mm-hmm. And that would kind of start to put a constraint on somebody's show design. They're going to want some stuff that one particular supplier might not be able to provide. So we decided, let's try not doing that. So the PGI is funding basically the cost of the display. And as we discussed it, it's worth the cost to be able to have the best shows possible.
Yeah, that sounds very well thought out. You can definitely tell there's a lot of time spent on the details. While we were sitting here, I went ahead and designed my show. It's just 4 16-inch shells. So
yeah, well,
I blew my whole budget early.
Yeah. Well, good thing you didn't start looking at the 24s. You would have only gotten 3.
Right.
I dare someone to spend the $50 entrance fee just to try that. Who are the people that are judging these? That's what I want to know. Right. Will they appreciate 324s?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you do have to figure out who the judges are to figure out how you're going to best perform in any kind of a judge competition. We have a couple different ideas on judging, one of which is a separate panel of judges that would be specific for this competition. I know that also the question is are the competition judges that are actually judging all the other competitions, are they interested in judging this as well? Because we certainly don't want to cut out any of the judges that are spending like the entire evening, every evening out there to sometimes 1 a.m. watching the best beginner ball show. We don't want to take away from them if they're interested in being the judging team. And then we're also talking about possibly trying to do like a viewer's choice award. And we've even talked about trying to do it different between the PGI versus the general public. So we might actually have perhaps more than one award or more than one way in which we judge which is the best show, but ultimately the competition winner is going to be judged inside of the PGI by a panel of judges, either the normal competition judges or perhaps a separate judging team. But either way, you're going to have industry experts that are actually looking at the displays and deciding which one they think was the best presentation. Now, the judging is going to be scored, so there's different points for different categories. One of them is cleanup. So you're actually getting points for, do you show up the next day and get your show properly torn down and put back in the truck? Because that's always the challenge logistically of a show, but it's a very important part of producing any show. So there are actually points for, do you get the equipment all put away and stuff like that.
You just made Peach's day. She's just, I get to see her. She's just holding back her excitement.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Because it is. It's like, I mean, and lots of us have been out in the PGI and had different roles seeing the production, but there's so many times where people, they basically get themselves stretched a little thin, and they kind of maybe do something a little bigger than they're really truly prepared to do, and then they end up going out and they're so exhausted at the end of the show, and they're so wiped out by the end of the show that they just barely got it set up before showtime, and they walk away, and the next day they're nowhere to be found, but all their equipment and everything is just abandoned in the field.
Oh, no.
Well, you can't do that. So even though we might select a viewer's choice award or some of these other awards the night of, the reality is we're not actually going to have the ability to announce it until at least the following day, and maybe we'll announce it at the Friday evening event, who the actual winner was, because there's still points to be earned by getting the field cleaned up and getting all your equipment put away.
Well, as chair of the Cracker Burn, we can talk for a long time about the importance of cleanup.
Oh, yeah. I've seen all that red paper all over the place. I'm sure you had 100 people willing to throw a string on, but there's not 100 people willing to clean up.
That's right. That's right.
It's usually like 5.
Always how it goes.
Yeah.
I just want one person with a flamethrower, and we'll be good.
I like it.
This is good stuff.
Yeah.
This was very informative.
No, we're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing people's creativity, because I think we're going to see some really fantastic shows. There's many pyros out there that have said, hey, if someday I could design one of these shows, this is what I would design. Well, for all of those people, this competition is for them.
Fantastic.
That was a really good closer. I'm just saying.
Like, just hit stop.
You just end it right there. It was pretty solid.
Well, that's what creative editing's for. You can always put that at the end, even if it wasn't at the end.
I'd actually probably just end with me saying that and then ending, and then everyone's like, what? No, you answered a lot of the follow-up questions I was going to ask, like the judging criteria. Obviously, we might not know the fine details, or it's still being finalized, stuff like that. Oh, is it -1 point for every product that doesn't fire or something?
No, but there is certainly going to be, as part of the judging criteria, we're looking at the overall performance. Like, for example, if you shoot a bunch of angles, are the angles consistent? If you're shooting a bunch of product, like together as a flight, did you have a dozen red, but you had 3 green? So we're going to be looking for technical aspects of the firing of the show, as well as the overall artistic aspect of how well did the show meet the music, and was the intensity following the ups and downs of your music track? Was your music track a good music track for a general audience and things like that? But it's going to be based on how well did you do overall in producing a pyro musical.
And you said all the details, once they're finalized, will be on Finale's website. Is that correct?
Yes, the actual rules relative to the PGI's competition is going to be on the PGI.org website. So, like, getting some of the how it is scored, how to enter, what the rules are, what the restrictions are, that's all going to be on the PGI's website. Finale 3D is where you actually are going to go to register and then request a copy of Finale 3D.
Thank you.
We want people to be highly successful, and we want to see some great displays. And I think we're going to, see that. And we also wanted to make it small enough that this doesn't become your entire convention, provided, of course, you plan it well and have a good team and have enough team members. But, we didn't want to make it all-encompassing where you didn't have time to enjoy the other parts of the convention. Yep. So going back to my PGI history, in 2008 in Gillette, Wyoming, they were having some challenges getting enough display companies willing to come and do the displays. So after a lot of discussion, they had offered me the grand public display already, and they were having such a problem. It's the first time fuel was over $4 a gallon, so that was kind of a big shock back then. Gillette's obviously a long way away, so logistically it was a challenge. So after a bunch of discussions with the board, they basically asked if I would be willing to shoot all of the displays for the week. And so my company did. It's the best convention I almost attended because I spent the entire week out in the field, and I remember that. And I've shot at the PGI many, many times. And we wanted to make the scale and scope of this to be a show that it certainly gives plenty of opportunity to produce a nice, intense display, but also wasn't going to be logistically so challenging that you have to get there like on Thursday before the convention starts and work like from morning till night every day just to get your display in the air. We realize a lot of people that come to the convention, they have a lot of different interests and a lot of different passions and a lot of different activities they want to participate in. And so we wanted the scope and scale of this to be very reasonable so that they could be able to enjoy some of the other seminars and enjoy the socialization of visiting with friends and, go to trade show, and that this wasn't going to be a, $10,000 where, the scope of the show was going to consume,
so big it takes
be
up
all
your whole
consuming.
week.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I love that it's a public night like we talked about. So you can maybe get some of the public going, wait a second, mate. These folks have never done this before, or maybe it's something I can do. How do I get involved?
Or if you have a bunch of people, family, friends that, want to come and attend and see, why have you been, hiding away in the basement for 2 weeks designing your show? And then why have you been stressed out for the last, 2 months leading up to the PGI convention? They can see the results of those efforts.
It's a great point. And does anybody remember what that website is where the public can buy tickets?
Yeah, it's pgi.org/tickets.
Thanks. I couldn't remember.
Aaron, we really appreciate you coming on and talking about this upcoming competition, Battle in the Sky, for the first, hopefully, annual time at the PGI convention.
Yep. Our goal is to make it every year. Obviously, we want to get through this first year, and I'm sure there'll be a lot to learn, and including the feedback from the participants. But yeah, we want to make this an annual event.
Yeah, hope everyone enters, mostly because Peaches will have a bigger prize pool, but also just want to see what everyone comes up with.
Yeah, Battle in the Sky. Love it. All right, this has been the Ignition Point Podcast, where it starts with a spark.
And ends with a bang.
That's the closest one yet.